Hello, my name is Gar Reynolds, and I have a question for you. When you think about presentation, what comes to mind? Do you think of very boring and long and dull presentations? And if you have to give a presentation, is that something that scares you and makes you really nervous? Well, in fact, presentation is a really marvelous opportunity to engage an audience and to share an idea and to make a difference. Now, moving forward, there will be many more opportunities to make presentations that can be seen around the world. And I wrote this book which details how to prepare and design and deliver a presentation. And in this presentation, I'm going to share a lot of the key components of this book. It is your first step to becoming a great presenter. Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Gar Reynolds, and first of all, I have a question for you. What is presentation? What do you think? When you hear that word presentation, what comes to mind? Who has an idea? Yes, sir.
Nervous.
You feel nervous if you give a presentation? Yes.
Like statistics.
Anyone else? Yes.
I feel shy.
You feel shy to give a presentation? Anyone else? Have you ever seen a boring presentation? Oh, okay. Raise your hand if you've seen a boring presentation. Anyone? Okay, that's 98%. Well, when we think of presentation, we often think of something that looks like this. Have you ever seen something that looks like this? And of course, you know, the presenter in the dark with lots of data, lots of information, and that puts us to sleep. And that's not what we want to do. So we call this death by PowerPoint. Some of you have experienced. That's in English, but in Japanese, it's basically the same. So it might look like this, or you might feel like this, something like this. It's a very uncomfortable feeling to be bored and have to endure this kind of presentation. But the thing is, it's a really exciting time to be alive for using visuals with presentations. But the best presentations we know don't just focus on the logic. And the kinds of presentations you've seen with the bullet points, they focus mainly on the logical part, which of course is important, and that's necessary. But we also need to tap the emotion. And the great thing about visuals and visual design is of course we can show evidence and we can show data, but we can also touch people at an emotional level. And we need both of those things. So you might be skeptical when you see beautiful slides like this or a slide like this. You might wonder, can you really use this kind of slide in an academic setting? And I'm telling you, I've been all over the world to different universities, and people are presenting this way, even serious technical topics. So the thing is, moving forward now in this era, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for you to make presentations. How many of you have made a presentation so far at this university? How many? Okay, 35%. But more of you will have an opportunity to do that. In fact, we're calling this generation presentation because younger people, this is very normal to them. It's very comfortable for them to make a high-quality multimedia presentation. So I have some experience working with college students, and so I just wanted to show you a few here. So these are pictures of my students making presentations, not in a presentation class. This is something they do on their own, actually, business students. But one thing you'll notice if you look at these, you don't see bullet points. You don't see a podium, right? They're out in front, naked, connected with the audience, like this one. Now, the school is designed with the podium, of course, far away from the audience. But he separates that, gets away from that, puts the computer out front, and gets close to the audience. So this is the trend. You see it on TED, of course, but you can see it more and more in the university setting as well. Now, I'm very inspired by Japan and the Zen arts. So I wrote this book, actually, because I was so inspired by living here in Japan. Now, it's not a book about Zen, of course, but we can take some of the elements from Zen and apply them to communication and, of course, to graphic design and visual communication in general. There's three key things that I've learned that I've applied in this book and that I'll talk about today. The first one is restraint. You can't do everything in a presentation. You have to choose what's important and leave out the superfluous for now. That's a very hard thing to do. Most presentations have too much, right? A slide like this, more slides, which leads to a very sleepy class. And I think you've experienced this before. So when you look at a slide like this, what would you say? Too much or not enough? It has too much stuff. And actually, the data is not complex. It's very simple data. It's just your basic XY axis. It's a bar chart. It's not complicated, but it's made unnecessarily complicated with too much, not applying restraint. So that's the after. Before, after. Very different. So we put most of the detail goes in a handout to the class or to the audience. And it's very, very easy to see. Very big, very simple. The other key concept, the second one, is simplicity. And simplicity isn't easy. In fact, it's very hard. It's hard for us, the creator, but for the audience, it should be easy. That's the point. And it's hard to do that. So when you look at a slide like this, again, easy data, but it's very hard to see. So this is before, this is after, which is easier to see. And if we want to make it even more visual, let's say we're talking about bicycles that we ride at the ocean, and these are the kinds of bikes that we specialize in, the photo can amplify the message a little bit. The third one is naturalness. That is a naturalness in your delivery. You don't have to be perfect, of course, but your data needs to be perfect, and your visuals should be perfect, but your speaking doesn't have to be perfect. Your conversations are never perfect, are they? Do you memorize your conversations? Before you go to talk to your boyfriend or your girlfriend, do you have a memo, right? What are you doing on the weekend? I'm playing tennis and No, you don't have a memo. You don't need that. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know what you're talking about, and it should be conversational. So I love this picture here. There's the presenter, front and center, naked, visuals behind him, but he's connecting to the audience. So much more engaging for both the audience and the presenter. So these are pictures of actual students, my students, giving presentations front and center. Visuals are simple, but the data is there, and they're communicating, they're connecting with the audience without lots of bullet points and with no notes. They don't need notes because they know what they're talking about. And I have many, many Japanese students who have done that too. So, presentation skill is something which is very necessary. It's always been necessary, but moving forward in this millennium, it's even much more necessary, I think. So you don't have to get better overnight. It can be very difficult to make big improvements, but this principle of Kaizen, which means step by step, you can get a little bit better, learn something about graphic design, learn a little bit about storytelling, and you can get a little bit better, a little bit at a time. So I want to wish you good luck. You've been a great audience, and I'll see you. Thank you very much.